Joining us on the line right now is KT McFarland, national security analyst for Fox News and a good friend of this program. KT, in the last few minutes, the President of the United States has responded to the second beheading. He's at a NATO meeting in Estonia, and here's what he said.
It's not only that we're going to be bringing to justice those who perpetrated this terrible crime against these two fine young men. More broadly, the United States will continue to lead a regional and international effort against the kind of barbaric and ultimately empty vision that ISIL represents. And that's going to take some time, but we're going to get it done.
Yeah, it seems like, a little low-key, but that's what he had to say. And then he was asked about, what's going on with Ukraine. There's some talk of a ceasefire this morning between Ukraine and Russia. And he said, we haven't seen a lot of follow-up. He said, but this is something that we all hope for. When it comes to ISIS, when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to foreign policy, it seems that everything we hear out of this president is measured, it is tepid, it is passionless.
Well, I agree you don't do stupid stuff, but that doesn't mean you don't do stuff at all. And what the president seems to, whether it's with China, whether it's with Russia, whether it's with ISIS, he seems to think the long arc of history favors us, and so therefore we don't have to do stuff. I look at the ISIS issue and say there are two separate parts of this. What the president's talked about so far is only one part of it, and that's we're going to defeat them, we're going to destroy them in the region, we're going to figure that out, we're going to form a coalition, we'll get around to it eventually. But there's a second part which directly affects the United States homeland and everybody in America, and that's that there are several hundred Americans and several thousand European passport holders who can enter the United States without a visa, who are fighting in the region now. Now, when we eventually get around to destroying the guys in the region, that's fine, but that still leaves hundreds, if not thousands, who could potentially legally enter the United States to do harm. And that doesn't even mention the porous southern border we have, and some preliminary reports that ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Islamic extremists are seeking to enter the United States illegally across the border. So I understand the laid-back stuff, don't do stupid stuff, but it's time to do stuff, and it's time to do two things. I think, first of all, do form the coalition that he's talked about. Do arm the Kurds, which he's talked about but hasn't done. Do continue to bomb, which he has done, but continue to do it. Bomb every ISIS convoy that moves anywhere near Kurdistan or Lebanon or Jordan. But there's a second part of it, which is let's get really serious about homeland defense. Secure the southern border and do what David Cameron's doing. I mean, David Cameron came out when he talked about ISIS. He didn't talk so much about what we're going to do in the Middle East. He talked about what he's going to do to protect the British people. And he got very specific about it. He went to Parliament this week to try to hammer out the details. We've heard none of that from the president.
And you're so right, KT McFarland, to bring up Prime Minister Cameron, because he had such forceful rhetoric with regard to the very real threat that he perceives to Britain. So, and compare that to, I want to play two quick cuts for you. This is the president again earlier today. It's a cut you just heard, but I just want to isolate one part.
It's not only that we're going to be bringing to justice those who perpetrated this terrible crime against these two fine young men.
Yeah, that's the first part. KT McFarland, by using the language, this terrible crime, it suggests that this is,
they robbed a bank.
Yeah. I mean, was it a crime what we saw on that videotape yesterday, or was that an act of war?
Oh, they're at war with us. I mean, we may dither around about, well, is it really act of war, blah, blah, blah. But, the fact is we may not have declared war against them. They've declared war against us. And so it takes, it only takes one to make a war. It doesn't take two. And so I think that when the president has talked about things like bringing to justice, or the attorney general said we've opened an investigation, that's what you do when somebody's robbed a bank or somebody's hacked into your credit card accounts or hacked into the nude photos in the cloud.
Again, it's this language that seems to suggest that it's underplaying it. And here's the other one that he said today. Get a load of this.
We know that if we are joined by the international community, we can continue to shrink ISIL's sphere of influence, its effectiveness, its financing, its its military capabilities to the point where it is a manageable problem.
A manageable problem.
Manageable problem.
Yeah, this is like we're going to put ISIS on a diet. Here's the problem with it. You wouldn't mind if he was laid back and spoke softly if he carried a big stick. But he's not carrying a big stick. Where are the Benghazi guys? Have we brought them to justice? It could take several years to bring them to justice after you've opened an investigation.
Right.
There are a lot more people are going to be beheaded in the next several years. There are 20 more unaccounted for Western journalists that are presumably in the line where they come and so far the routine seems to be chop a head off, show the next guy who's going to have his head chopped off. So the video that was released yesterday was chop the second guy's head off, show the third guy who's in line.
Yeah, as long as we're on that topic, there is this report out there that in Libya, some Islamic jihadists may be in control of some 11 commercial jetliners that we don't know where they are.
Yes.
And we are like 8 days away from the
September
13th
11th.
anniversary of September 9/11.
Exactly. And we've seen it's not just September 11th, the Twin Towers in the Pentagon. It's September 11th, Benghazi. It's September 11th, the siege of Malta. It's in the 1600s. It's the September 11th, which was the battle for Vienna in the 1700s. So this is a symbolic date for that part of the world. And if one of ISIS's goals, in addition to taking over the world, crucifying, beheading Christians, religious minorities, and other Muslims who don't agree with them, if one of their goals is to show that they're the new tough guy on the block, that Al-Qaeda's history, Al-Qaeda's like the aging rock star, they're the new upcoming star, what better day to do a big attack than around September 11th to show Al-Qaeda couldn't pull it off? Look at us. Now, why is that important, and why are the symbols of all this important? Because it attracts financing for those who would do ill. It attacks recruits. We're seeing recruits from as far away as Australia who are rushing to join the ISIS army to kill Westerners.
Very, very quickly, and I need a very short answer on this. Putin has, there's some talk of a ceasefire with Putin between the Ukrainians and the Russians. This just happens to happen as everybody's arriving for the big NATO summit. Do you believe this, or is this just his way of sort of, diffusing the situation while the world is looking?
Diffusing the situation for now, because the ultimate goal is to destroy the Ukrainian economy, which he does by the constant political instability. Nobody's going to invest in Ukraine by January, February, with no natural gas imports, with in debt to the tune of over $10 billion. The Ukrainians are going to have to cut a deal.
All right. KT McFarland, we greatly appreciate you.